So, who would like to ask the first question? Please, gentleman over there.
Thank you. So from what I get from the different directors, right, despite taking different approaches to filmmaking and its purpose, be it about telling a story, telling personal stories, taking constructivist approaches to regional identity, tensions between modernity and all that, one commonality that I get is that this desire to capture a picture of Southeast Asian reality, whatever that means, that is authentic, feelings that's connected to a sense of space and authentic in your own words, which are not, which is like to capture a sense of like tightness or feelings that are coming out of yourself. So I want to ask like all the directors here, being that we're here to discuss cinema, it's just one of many art forms. Do you feel that there are inherent limitations or weaknesses to the art form of cinema in expressing what you want to express, in capturing authenticity, or to capture the human condition in Southeast Asia? Yeah, thanks.
Is there anyone in particular that you would like?
Anyone can answer.
Okay.
If I understand your question, we know that film is the youngest medium compared to dance or painting or song or singing. So and then to me it's the most conservative to me actually, because unlike painting, because like sometimes I curate art shows. Unlike paintings, films audience are locked in. For example, look at you. You come and watch a film. You have to sit. You cannot move anywhere anymore. So it's locked in audience. That's that is film, not painting. For example, and I just want to compare a little bit. And if you compare to dance, you cannot explain dance. You have to watch it. You cannot explain the movement of Merce Cunningham or Wilson. You cannot do it. You have to watch it. So, but in film you can explain it. I saw the film. The film is about the guy that runs away from home. And then he went to Singapore. Ended up in Geylang. Live in Hotel 88. And then he met. You can tell a story. So because it's very conservative, because it depends on other art forms. It depends on writing. It depends on acting. It depends on mime. So I think as long as this medium still depends on this old art form, you won't reach the supreme form. Maybe one day. So to answer your question, sorry, I digress. To answer your question, I myself, I have not mastered the medium, so I cannot claim that the medium cannot contain what I want to express, because I've not really mastered the medium. Because first of all, the medium is a Western medium in a way. The West set the vocabulary of set the grammar, and then for me as a Muslim, even worse, there's a more setback, because I was not allowed in the beginning to draw pictures. So so again I have to jump again. The misunderstood. So a film is always a misunderstood medium in my culture, and my religious background too. So to answer your question, I think I'm the one that is not in control, not yet mastered the medium to be able to express myself. Whatever that's not doesn't come out across from the screen, it's not the medium's fault. It's actually basically my fault. And then just for a note, I just want to add just now for what I said, that there are two kinds of filmmakers too now in this century now. One is filmmakers that make films that the audience watch, local audience. And the other one is filmmakers that have been built by festivals, and that's very tricky also to me. That Because yeah. So choose one. Either one.
I think before we ask, looks like you have a follow-up, right? But maybe there may be more answers too. But before we get a filmmaker to ask, I wonder, OTTY, you work in many different disciplines, right? So you have a sense of the limitations of the different disciplines and so on and so forth. Do you care to address that question? So it was that the film medium itself or the practice may have certain limitations that may not allow you, if I'm correct, right, may not allow you to
correct.
express fully the national questions or debates or expressions that you may wish to do through that medium. Is that accurate?
Or more broadly, as a director, what are the limitations of cinema for which you cannot express certain feelings, or any other limitations?
For me, you asking about film, about the film itself. I mean the medium, the film medium.
Correct.
You ask about the limitation. Is there any limitation?
Yes.
I think it's not easy. I think nothing is impossible. You cannot limit your mind, your ideas. So none of the medium can limitize it for me. So any kind of medium, because I work also, I'm painting, also making a film. But they have the limitation in technically, but none of them can limitize the idea of the artist, I think.
Yes, please.
So actually, I'd like to address the opposite of that, which is actually the potential of the medium of, let's say, video art. Actually, just working as a curator at SAM before, I realized that a lot of countries actually it's seen as a very democratic medium because you can just pick up a camera. It's like photography. It's like making time-based art. You don't really need to go to school to pick up this craft. So a lot of people just stand on the shoulders of giants, and they kind of axe the entire history of experimental film or video art, and they make things that are new, and they feel new because the medium allows for them to do that. And I noticed a lot of people that were shown in the Fragments Omnibus as well as on this panel, they themselves also work in mediums other than traditional black box cinema. SHERMAN has talked about that, and Nick, also you're making lots of work too. And Love Diaz himself, he's listed as an artist in the upcoming Asia Pacific Triennial. So I also saw some multi-channel installations of films that were seen as very commercial. Like I saw a Bunuhan done as a 3-channel installation. I think it was JIAN Zaid who did that. So Apachapong himself also makes a lot of works that the museums purchase, and there are multi-channel film installations that have other components. So in a sense, like the medium in and of itself actually allows for not just narrative storytelling, but also ways of thinking about how time unfolds, or how you can convey a certain notion through this very flexible form. And I think that it's more potential rather than limitation.
I'll take a contrary view, and I'd like to address this what seemed to be positivist approach towards art, because I think you were expressing your question in a negative, which is hindrance. And so my answer to the question is that should we rather now look at the whole notion of is this a debate between reality and realism? Reality, which I think is the frame of reference that you're having, is that are films capable of projecting reality? And you phrased your question by saying, what are the hindrances in doing so? In other words, you express your full faith in reality and hope and aspire that perhaps film may also be able to express as such. Otherwise, where is the limitation? And therefore, I will go to a function of this art called realism, that what you can achieve in film is realism and not necessarily reality. All right, so this is now a philosophy of the art that we practice. Sorry, I'm a professor in film, so I encounter problems such as this, and indeed it's very problematic. In other words, film has to conform to certain formal elements. And at most, what it can achieve for you and for a filmmaker is the realism of what he or she is trying to capture as phenomenon. A phenomenon that will always change, and by the time you finish shooting, that reality has already changed. What's left behind is that which is imprinted into your medium, very much like a shadow captured by your camera. And therefore, this is where we need to really think more deeply about cinema as representation. And to mistake it as reality is, I think, a folly. And I always break that notion with my students, and I think we as filmmakers need to acknowledge that as such. The formalism can be a hindrance, but for the formalists, they exactly flourish in this kind of aesthetics. And the ideology it brings, such as the generation of Eisenstein, who exactly saw in the very limitation of cinema as a formalist art, the very reason to celebrate it for reasons other than aesthetics, which would be ideology. So, you know, it's a very profound question that you asked, and I don't want to give my full lecture here, but I hope I'm getting my idea across. Let us not mistake film as reality. Sure, it has its material reality as exactly the medium of illusion, which our friend from Thailand is talking about. And he said it so well. It is a medium of illusion, and that is its reality. Beyond that, to mistake it for reality, as in the reality, the phenomenon it captures, is absolute folly and delusion. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think the question is quite interesting about the limitation of the medium. But I think that the limitation actually mostly is from the audience ourselves. Like, we have limitation in viewing and of the time and of the focus and all these things. So like as an audience, like when I watch NAWAPOL's scene 38, I'm very interested also in listening to other conversation as well. But because of our limit, it's not the limitation of the medium. He can actually show at the same time all the conversation going on, but because of the audience limitation, we can only hear one. And if it is in the form of like a video installation, I guess, I mean, I'll be very interested to see one. Then you will have like different headphones where you can pick up like the different conversation of the extras. So I think that the limitation is with us. With the medium, of course, they can do a lot more, and I'm not sure. This, just as an audience, yeah, I think. Yeah.
Thanks. Did you have a response to any of those answers?
No, thank you. That's good replies.